Have you ever wondered if she's thinking about you? Even when she seems distant, even when she pulls back, even when every logical part of your brain is telling you she's just not that interested. What if I told you that sometimes, the very moments when you think she doesn't like you are actually the moments when you're occupying her mind the most? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share might completely change how you read the signs. You see, there's this fascinating paradox in human connection, especially for us as we get older and more experienced in life. We think we know the game. We think we can read people. But here's the truth. The signals mature women send when they're deeply thinking about someone aren't always what you'd expect. In fact, they're often the complete opposite. Let me paint you a picture. You've been talking to someone. Maybe you met her at a social event, maybe through friends, maybe online. The conversations were good, really good. There was chemistry, laughter, that spark, and then something shifts. She becomes a little quieter, takes longer to respond, seems distracted. Your first thought, she's lost interest. She's met someone else. She doesn't like you. Am I right? But what if that's not what's happening at all? Research from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found something remarkable. When people are developing genuine feelings for someone, their behavior often becomes more inconsistent, not less. They pull back to protect themselves. They create distance to test if what they're feeling is real. It's a defense mechanism, especially common in people who have lived enough life to know that vulnerability comes with risk. So here's the first sign she's thinking about you nonstop, even though you think she doesn't like you. She remembers the tiny details. I'm talking about things you mentioned in passing 3 weeks ago. Your nephew's name, that story about your first car, the fact that you don't like cilantro. When a woman is genuinely thinking about you, her mind is cataloging everything. She might seem distant in the moment, but then she'll bring up something so specific, so small, that you barely remember saying it yourself. That's not coincidence. That's a mind that's been replaying your conversations over and over. You know what else happens? Her digital behavior becomes, interesting. And I don't mean she's liking every post or commenting constantly. Actually, it's often the opposite. She might watch your stories but not respond. She might read your messages and wait hours to reply, even though you can somehow sense she read them right away. According to research from the Pew Research Center on Digital Communication Patterns, people who are emotionally invested actually tend to overthink their digital presence more. They're careful. They don't want to seem too eager. They don't want to reveal how much mental real estate you're actually occupying. But here's where it gets really telling. Pay attention to what happens when you do connect. Does the conversation go deep fast? Does she ask questions that show she's been thinking about who you are, what you want, what makes you tick? Women who are casually interested keep things surface level. Women who are thinking about you nonstop. They're trying to understand you. They're building a mental picture. They're figuring out if this thing they're feeling has a foundation. Now, I want you to think about something for a moment. When was the last time someone surprised you by how much they'd been paying attention? When did someone last show you that you mattered more than you realized? And if you're finding value in this, if this is resonating with you and making you see things differently, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Because I create content like this regularly, diving deep into the real psychology of connection and attraction for men who have lived enough life to appreciate authenticity. We're building a community here of guys who want the truth, not the games. So subscribe, and let's keep this conversation going. All right, let's talk about the second sign. She initiates contact, but in unexpected ways. Not the constant texting, not the obvious flirting. I'm talking about the random check-in. The article she sends you that made her think of you. The question about something you're knowledgeable about, even though she could easily Google it. Psychology Today published findings showing that when someone is consistently thinking about another person, they subconsciously create reasons to connect. They're testing the waters. They're maintaining the thread. She might seem like she doesn't like you because she's not being overtly romantic, but those little touches of contact, those are her way of staying in your orbit while she figures out her feelings. Here's something that might surprise you. A study from the University of California found that mature adults, particularly those over 50, actually take longer to express romantic interest than younger people. Know why? We've got histories. We've got ex-spouses, past heartbreaks, established lives. We don't jump in blindly. So when a woman in our age range is thinking about you nonstop, she's also running scenarios. She's being cautious. She's protecting herself. That distance you're interpreting as disinterest. It might actually be her being careful with something she values. The third sign is subtle, but it's powerful. Notice her body language when you're together in person. Does she face you fully when you talk? Does she lean in, even slightly? Does she find small reasons for physical proximity? Reaching across you for something, touching your arm when she makes a point, standing just a bit closer than necessary. Northwestern University research on nonverbal communication revealed that when people are attracted to someone, their body gives them away even when their words are guarded. She might be saying she's not sure or taking things slow, but if her body is oriented toward you, if she's creating opportunities for closeness, her subconscious is telling you exactly how much she's thinking about you. And here's another layer. Pay attention to how she talks about the future, not necessarily a future with you, just the future in general. Does she mention events coming up and gauge your interest? Does she talk about places she wants to go or things she wants to try, almost like she's, planting seeds? When someone is thinking about you nonstop, they're imagining possibilities. They might not be ready to explicitly invite you into those possibilities yet, but they're testing whether your vision aligns with theirs. Let me tell you something important, though. This isn't about playing detective or overanalyzing every little thing. It's about awareness. It's about understanding that at our age, connection looks different than it did when we were 25. There's more at stake. There's more wisdom. There's more caution. And sometimes, the very behaviors that seem like rejection are actually protection. You think she doesn't like you, but if you notice these signs, the detailed memory, the careful digital presence, the unexpected check-ins, the body language that betrays her guarded words, the future-focused conversations, she's deeply thinking about you nonstop. She's just being smart about it. Research from the Journal of Adult Development shows that successful relationships later in life are built on a foundation of patience and genuine compatibility, not just passion. So if she's moving slowly, if she's being careful, if she seems to be thinking things through, that's not a bad sign. That's a sign she's taking you seriously. Now, here's what I want you to do with this information. First, give her space to process. Don't push. Don't demand clarity. Show up consistently, authentically, and let her see that you're someone worth thinking about nonstop. Second, match her depth. If she's asking meaningful questions, answer meaningfully. If she's sharing vulnerabilities, honor them. Show her that her careful attention is being met with your genuine presence. And third, trust the process. At 50 plus, we don't have time for games, but we also don't need to rush. The best connections are the ones that unfold naturally, where both people are brave enough to be real and patient enough to let things develop. Imagine this. 6 months from now, you're sitting together, laughing about how you almost walked away because you thought she wasn't interested. She tells you that she was thinking about you constantly, even in those quiet moments, especially in those quiet moments. She was just making sure you were real, making sure this was worth the risk. And you realize that the patience you showed, the attention you paid to the subtle signs, that's what made all the difference. That's the vision. That's what's possible when you stop reading distance as disinterest and start recognizing it for what it sometimes is. Someone being careful with something valuable. So here's my challenge to you. If this shifted your perspective, if this helped you see things differently, don't just watch and leave. Subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment telling me which sign resonated most with you. Share this with a friend who might need to hear it, because this kind of content, this real, practical, honest insight into connection and attraction for men who have lived enough life to know what matters, this is what we're all about here. You think she doesn't like you, but now you know what to look for. Now you know that sometimes the quietest signals are the loudest truths. Pay attention, be patient, be present, and trust that if she's thinking about you nonstop, you'll know, not from grand gestures, but from the details, always from the details. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.